It's a bitter cup, and I tell anyone, if you can think what it feels like to lose a child, it's 100 times worse than you think.
Peace County emergency. I'd like to have an ambulance come. What room do you want to go? 1102 Washington Hall. It's an emergency. It's Len Bias.
Maryland has knocked off North Carolina in one of the biggest upsets this year.
Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to the Johnny Holliday Show. We have a very, very special guest for you today. Someone I'm looking over her left shoulder, and there's a picture of her son, the late Len Bias, right over her shoulder. And I speak of Dr. Lonise Bias. It's always good to see you, good to visit with you, and good to reflect back.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Johnny. I look forward to opportunities to share my perspective and to be reflective of my past.
What was Len like growing up? What was he like as a child?
He would go up to the store from the house where we lived, or he would be outside playing, and he would always bring something from nature back in the house with him. And I was a young mother. You know, with the length of days comes understanding. He would come in and say, "Mom, isn't this a pretty rock?" And I would say, "Yeah, it's a pretty rock, but today it's pure treasure." You see, if I had that rock that he had bought me when he was younger, it would be treasure today.
When did you discover that our little boy is a pretty good basketball player?
His interest in basketball did not come to light until he reached middle school. And then you had 7th, 8th, and 9th grade.
Sure.
And by the time he reached the 8th grade, he had an interest in that sport, and it accelerated.
Long pass up court.
Where did he get the competitive spirit that he had, the competitive desire to be the very best?
Bias from outside, and he got it. Len Bias with 29. Oh my! And he made the steal and a jam! What a play by Bias!
Because a lot of people compared him to Michael Jordan when he was, and most people, including myself, when you see North Carolina and Maryland play, it was always the numbers belonged to Len Bias over the great Michael Jordan.
Yeah, he was a competitor.
Without
He
question.
was the competitor, but he was not arrogant. He had tenacity, he loved the game, and he wanted to win. He wanted to be the best, and he wanted to play his best.
Did you miss many of his games when he was playing?
They were local. No, we made all of the games that we possibly could.
Must have been rather unusual sitting in the stands and everybody focusing on Len Bias, number 34 on that floor. And here you are, you and Mr. Bias, the parents, and bursting with pride of what you're seeing on the floor.
Absolutely. I can remember right here at then Cole Fieldhouse, Len knew where we were seated, and he was going to the free throw line, and he bent over. He turned his head to see where we were, and he nodded. I remember that. I remember that, and he made the free throws. It was in a tough game they were playing.
Len was 6'8" when he played at Maryland.
Yeah.
Big, big young man.
Yeah.
All-American, all ACC.
And not only that, I'd like to say, maybe I shouldn't say it, but I mean, they can cut it out if they want to. But Len was a true athlete. And I'm not saying the young men today are not athletes. I'm saying before we had all of the emphasis on health and fitness, he was already there.
Here's the back pass to Len Bias, goes up strong, back over his head. What a leaper, what a pass.
I was living on campus, and he'd come by the house. I opened the door, and he said, take your fist and hit me in my stomach as hard as you can. I said, boy, get out of my face. And he said, Mom, I'm not playing. Hit me as hard as you can. And I took my fist and I hit him in his stomach, and it was like hitting a brick wall. Before fitness became a trend, he was fit.
I think that the terminology would be he was chiseled.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
He was chiseled.
For
yeah.
real, for real, for
Yeah.
real, for real. I just looked at the athlete that he was, a true athlete, and dedication to the sport that he loved.
When you go back to June of 1986, June 17th, when the Boston Celtics drafted your son, watching on television, what was that moment like?
Well, it was, it didn't seem real. I can remember during the last 18 months of recruitment, or say maybe the last 6 months before Len's death, it just didn't seem like it was going to happen to me. You know, it was like, I'll believe it when I see it. It just didn't resonate with me that this was going to be an absolute, that Len would be drafted and that he would play for a professional basketball team. But I was hopeful, I was excited about what was going on.
The Boston Celtics select Len Bias of the University of Maryland.
There he is, Len Bias. He had a great career at Maryland. Many people think he may be the best athlete in the draft.
But when he went to New York, I never saw him again until he was on the table at Leland Hospital dead. I never laid eyes on him again. That day that he had come home from Boston, I was at a meeting, and when I got home, the kids were telling me, Len was here, he said he'll be back tomorrow. And I said, okay, I'll see him tomorrow. I spoke to him on the phone, but I never saw him again, alive.
I can't imagine, no one can, what you and your husband went through.
A local success story took a tragic turn this morning. Len Bias, the Maryland University basketball star on his way to becoming a world champion Boston Celtic, died of an apparent heart attack today at Leland Memorial Hospital in Prince George's County.
Mr. Bias died of cocaine intoxication, which interrupted the normal electrical activity of his brain, which controlled his heartbeat.
It's a bitter cup, and I tell anyone, if you can think what it feels like to lose a child, it's 100 times worse than you think, because the natural order is being reversed, where the child should be burying the parent is burying the child. I just couldn't believe the joke. What kind of joke is life playing on us? And I was actually just so upset about his death and upset with God. I mean, what have we done that have caused us to lose our babies in such dreadful manners? But because of the hardships of life and the crises and the suddenlies that come in life, we took lemons and made lemonade. It was sour, it was stinky, it was nasty. We didn't like any of it, but God gave us the strength to endure.
The turnout for his memorial service was incredible. Incredible. Cole Fieldhouse was packed. the chapel, when you had the service for Len, was standing room only.
Yes. I got kind of turned around. I'm so glad Jason called me, because I would have never found this place. I would have never found it. But anyhow, coming down Route 1, I looked at the campus, and the chapel looked like a little country church to me now. But the day Len died, it seemed like I had to climb 1,000 steps, and the chapel was like a cathedral. Those were the worst steps in the world, trying to climb those steps to get in that chapel with my baby's coffin. I would also like to take this opportunity for thanking you for singing at Len's funeral. You are a beautiful vocalist, but you singing the Lord's Prayer and sitting here today, it's just remarkable. I have lived to see the salvation and the goodness of my God that I believe in. The pluses in my life outweigh all of the negative. And for everything that I have had to endure, I wouldn't take anything from my journey. You have no control over the date you're born or the date you die, only the dash that's in between. And we're sitting here talking about Len Bias 35 years later because of the dash. And that's what's important.
I will certainly always remember Len Bias with his basketball ability. We'll never forget that.
And the Maryland fans are saying, welcome back to College Park. Len Bias told me before the game that he has not really played well yet. A lot of people wouldn't believe it, but he said he's going to be great tonight.
And I'll remember him as a person, the way that I knew him, the way he reacted to people.
Yes, the dash.
The way he was nice to everybody.
The dash.
Yes, the dash.
The dash.
Thank you for joining us. It's been
Thank you for the
very
opportunity.
inspiring conversation for me and for all the folks watching.
Anytime.
And I wish you, I hope you just continue on the speaking tour for many, many, many years.
Thank
and
you.
changing lives all around the country.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Bias.
Thank you. And God bless you and your family and all of your staff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for the Johnny Holliday Show. For Dr. Lonise Bias, we'll see you next time. Thanks.